brilliant people. So I've talked before about flow state and how that is linked to your intuition and how important that is. So today I'm going to talk about 7 different ways that you can use to help you achieve flow state. Okay, let's get into it. So the first one is to remember that flow state is somewhere between boredom and stress. Now that might sound a bit weird. What I mean by that is it is a challenge, like it's not just something you can do without focusing on it, but it's not so difficult that it's, you're just kind of freaking out. So it is about finding the right level of gradient for yourself. And as I said, that's somewhere between boredom and stress. So yeah, there's sufficient challenge that's exciting, but not such a sufficient challenge that it's kind of freaky. So that's the first thing. So the second thing is to connect to your purpose. So what you're doing, whatever your purpose is in life, whatever is the most meaningful thing for you, whatever you're doing, the more that it is connected to that, the more easily you're going to connect to those deeper states that are going to foster flow state for you. So connected to your purpose. The third thing is to actually eliminate disruptions. In other words, and I don't just mean by that external distractions, I mean that if there are things that in your life that are not in alignment with your purpose, that's one of the reasons why purpose can be so helpful, because it can create a state of internal alignment. So if there are things in your life that are taking you away from your purpose, that are constantly causing a disruption to you realizing your purpose, the more you can eliminate those, the more easily it's going to be, the more easier it's going to be for you to drop into flow state whenever you choose. The fourth thing is to actually have kind of like a flow state time. That can be similar to a co-creative time. So, there are so many articles around and so many studies that have shown that when you're doing something regularly, you need to, that helps your subconscious kind of get with the program. That really helps your whole system know, okay, now is the time I go into my creative zone, into my flow state. Now, of course, some of you, are going to be able to do that, like it's this time, it's between, 10 and 12 on a Saturday, or it's between 6 and 7 p.m. every time after I come home from work, or it's, if you're a morning person, it's going to be between 5 and 6 in the morning before you go to work or something. When you have a regular schedule like that, that's pretty easy to do. If you are, as some of my friends are, if you're a nurse and therefore you're on shift work or other kinds of shift work, well, the thing is, it's very hard to have those regular slots, but it doesn't mean that you can't have it. What it means is that you just, instead of it being regular according to the clock, it's going to have to be regular according to, rising time or bedtime. Like if your regular time is, sort of between 1 and 2 hours after you get up in the morning, say. Because by doing that, your system can still find a regularity to it. And in fact, if you are on shift work, finding that regularity in that way is in some ways even more important, because it enables your system to still find consistency despite the crazy schedules that you may have to manage. Okay, so that's the fourth thing, having a regular sort of flow state time. So then the fifth thing is to allow yourself to soak in the flow state, not to force it. So what do I mean by that? So the problem is that if you force it, then you're actually going into a different part of your brain, into your nervous system. It's much easier for you to tip yourself into almost like a fight-flight kind of state, because, flow state is a much more holistic. The more you just allow yourself to, as I said, soak in it, because one of the most important things is to learn to be able to recognize when you are in flow state. So when you're soaking in it, you're appreciating it, you're really allowing yourself, kind of like just getting into a warm bath, just actually just doing it, appreciating it, feeling how it feels. The more that you can do that and self-calibrate to it, so the more that you can really start to feel how it feels, the more that you'll be able to then just step into it at will. Because once you know what that state is like on the inside, then you can just focus on that feeling, focus on that state, and intend to get back into that state. And eventually you will then thereby, by focusing on giving yourself that feedback, by soaking in it, soak in it, notice what it is, acknowledge it, try to replicate it just by wanting to be back in that state, you will eventually get control over it and be able to step in and out of it, with a degree of personal control. So, and so that's the fifth thing. And then the sixth thing is to include in it your things. So the things we've talked before about joy. So by including the things that you really get a kick out of, it means that joy, because joy is a state that we feel when we've got endorphins, and that is definitely part of the flow state. So the more that you're having your things included in what you're doing, the easier it will get into flow state. And see, joy, that feeling of joy, it's both cause and effect of flow state. So the more that you allow yourself to enjoy your things, the easier it is to get into flow state, and the easier it is to really allow yourself to have flow state when you get into it. So by allowing yourself to have your things, you can sort of start to get that feedback going and really start to expand it and live in that state more and more. And then the seventh thing is to trust yourself. First of all, so this is part of, I've talked before about 3 kinds of trust. So when we're talking about flow state, we're talking about the deepest kind of trust, which is brilliant trust. You want to be able to get to a point where you trust your own brilliance, where you trust that part of you that is really willing to just allow yourself to live from your intuition, live from who you really are. And you understand that it may not always work out the way that you hope, but you know that it's always going to work out brilliantly. So there you are. There's 7 ways of getting into flow state. So practice those and remember that you're brilliant.